Hey, I'm Kai, and today I'm checking out something I've been asked about quite a lot. This is the Valeton GP-5. This pedal has been getting a ton of love in pretty much all corners of the internet at the minute because it is a full-fledged mini modeler that costs just about £70. The I/O on this one is super simple. We have a mono guitar input, a stereo output which can also be a headphone output, we have a 9V jack for power, or you can also use the USB-C port for power. Not only can the USB-C port power the unit, but you can also use it as a mobile interface, so you can have an entire guitar rig for your phone on the go. You can scroll through the presets on the unit itself using the parameter knob, but pretty much everything else is going to be controlled with the mobile editor. I'm going to start out with some of these stock presets in the unit just to see what it's all about, and the first one is probably the best one in the unit. They definitely put a lot of time into dialing in this first preset so that you'd get the best experience right out the box. I set the pedal up so that the foot switch turns the effects on and off for each preset, so let's hear what this is like without the delay and the reverb. It's not my favourite raw amp tone by any means, but we'll check out some of the other stock presets and see what else is going on here. This heavy disc preset is based on the Eagle 120, which is an Engel amplifier. Let's hear what this is like. I'm not a huge fan of that high gain distortion sound. It's really ratty and really harsh on the high end, but we'll sweep around and see if there's anything else we can find for high gain. This EV1 riff preset seems to be more my speed, though I am going to turn the reverb off. One thing I've noticed with this is there is an overwhelming amount of high end on this one, and it's not super realistic sounding. So let's disable this EQ, which has been set up to boost the high end, and see what it sounds like without the EQ engaged. I'm still not a huge fan of these high gain tones. I think the clean tones are really where this unit's been shining so far. I'll try out one more of these stock clean tones and then we'll get into building my own preset. Yeah, I don't know if it's just that it's easier to do a clean tone or if I'm particularly fussy about high gain tones, but the clean tones in this unit are definitely more my speed. I have heard a few people complaining about the latency with the GP-5, and I can say it's not a major issue for me at least. It doesn't feel as instantaneous as something like the Stomp Station for instance, but it's not bad at all. Now I want to build my own preset with this unit, and before I get into things like loading in NAM captures and impulse responses and all that stuff, I just want to build out with the stock stuff in the unit to see what I can come up with. For this, I want to go for a pretty effect-heavy tone, so I'm going to start out with a low-gain amp and cab. For the cab, I think I'm going to go for a 4x12, and I'd like to have something with either greenbacks or V30s, so I think I'm going to go for the UK Green 4x12 based on a Marshall 4x12. For the amp, I think I want something pretty low-gain and British, so let's try out a plexi type thing. This will be the JTM 45. It sounds like the JTM 45 is actually pretty gunned, even though the gain is only at 25%. I guess we'll try out another amp. Let's go for the Boogie Lone Star instead. That seems like a nice start to build from. The amp is low gain enough that we can push a drive pedal into the front end of it, but enough gain that it also sounds good on its own. I will say the parameters in the amp block don't really function the same way they do on a real amp. Similar to other budget modelers I've tried, like the Hot Tone and the Mua stuff, it seems like they're built from captures. This means that rather than a natural sweep of gain from the amp itself, you've got something more akin to changing the output level of your pickups, where it's just changing the input gain before it reaches the front end of the amplifier. The EQ also sounds like it's after the amp block as well, but it's also very subtle sounding on this. One thing I really have to praise this unit for is that there are a really good amount of effects in this, so let's add in some delay and reverb. For the delay, I think I want a ping pong delay so that we can go nice and wide with it. And of course we're going to add a reverb to this so that the darting sound from left to right is smeared a little bit. One thing I also really like is that it's super easy to change the placement of some of the blocks in this unit, so you can run the delay before the amplifier for instance, and we'll also switch out the delay to a more normal analog style delay instead. I'm going to disable the delay for just a minute and then we'll add in a drive pedal onto the tone. The Super OD up front seems to be my favourite drive, so I'm going to engage the noise gates to get rid of some of the noise, and then I'm also going to engage the delay again so that we can get some big shoegazy sort of ambient stuff. get on to loading NAM captures in just a second, but before I do, there are a couple of little bits of housekeeping I need to get to first. First is the Discord server, so if you want to come and join and chat about all things guitars, bass, amps, pedals, or even chat to me about upcoming videos and things like that, this is the spot to do so. You'll find that link in the description box down below, and you'll also find my Tom affiliate link, so if you wanted to purchase the Valeton GP-5 for yourself, please do consider doing so through my affiliate link, as it gives me a nice little bit of kickback. So it's time to check this unit out with some NAM captures, and it's something that I was particularly excited about and sort of the main reason why I ordered the pedal in the first place. I've loaded up the Essentials Capture Pack by ML Sound Lab, and full disclosure, I do work for ML Sound Lab, so take my biases as what you will. Now the NAM captures in the GP-5 will disable both the amp block and the cabinet block, so you will need to use all-in-one captures and you can't load impulse responses as well as a NAM capture. For the Essentials Capture Pack, we have both full rig and amp-only captures, so for this you would want to use the full rig capture. Under the snap tone block, I'm going to scroll all the way down and find the ML Peeve block. Here's what this one sounds like right out the gate with no tweaking whatsoever. So the first thing you're going to notice is that we will need a noise gate on this because this is pretty noisy. I'm also going to boost this one with the Tube Screamer model to see if we can get it just a little bit tighter. The main issue with the GP-5 is that it really knocks off the high end, so let's use the EQ block and see if we can bring some of that back. Largely for curiosity's sake, I'm also going to disable the Tube Screamer we've got up front and just hear what the EQ does to the amp itself. I would actually say that presence boost from the EQ may be enough to tighten up the amp, that we don't actually need the boost up front. Now let's start the conclusion with some pros, and I should probably mention first, this is not a sponsored video, I purchased this one with my own money. I need to first stress that this is a cheap pedal. The fact that you're able to plug your guitar into this and get guitar sounds out of it at this price point is already a miracle. I would say that it's got a really comprehensive set of amps, effects, cabinets, all that sort of stuff. You've got everything you would expect to have out of a modeler, plus a lot of extra stuff as well. The app is incredibly easy to use, it's super straightforward, everything is laid out nicely, and one of my favourite features is actually that it tells you what each of the blocks are based on if you just scroll through the list. Something that's really underappreciated about this unit is that you're actually able to plug it directly into your phone and use it as an audio interface. There are also plenty of spots for NAM captures, for impulse responses, and for user presets, so you should never really feel like you're running out of room. The fact that the device itself has a screen on it is a huge benefit too, over something like the Tone X1 for instance. Being able to see what preset you're on from having a name readout on the unit itself is really helpful. The tuner is also much easier to follow when you have the notes on the screen. Onto some cons now, and we'll start with the big one. Unfortunately, the amps, the cabs, the drives are not that great. You'll notice that a lot of these stock presets, as well as probably most of the presets you create, will likely need an EQ after the amp block to bring up that high end again. I tested out some GP-5 captures versus the same captures in NAM in my DAW, and I found that the GP-5 starts shelving them off at about 2 kHz. Not to the unusable territory by any means, but enough to be very noticeable. It's generally not a great representation of the capture itself, though of course you can get good sounds out of it. Since this is a budget pedal, as I keep saying, it's hard to be too critical of that because there really aren't that many better options at this price point. Another thing is that the on-device editing leaves a lot to be desired. I get that there's not much that you can do with a unit of this size, but you really have no control on the pedal itself. You can change presets, but you can't edit them, and you can assign one set of blocks to the foot switch for each preset, but you don't get any deeper control than that. You can't edit any of the parameters without the companion app on your phone. I am looking forward to the release of the GP-50 shortly, as this takes the idea of the GP-5 but scales it up just large enough to actually be usable. So let me know what you think of it. I think it's a wonderful little pedal and well worth the price. I mean, for this kind of price, even getting one usable tone would be worth it. That's all for this video though, so until next time, I've been Kai.